What are the two leading cases in America regarding abortion?
Well, I think most people think of Roe versus Wade, and Casey is the case after Roe that preserved Roe's central holding, but grounded it in a slightly different rationale.
So what is that rationale?
Rationale is that the state cannot impose an undue burden on a woman's right to terminate a pregnancy.
If there's a challenge coming from a state, if a state passes a law and it goes into court where people say this violates Casey, how do you decide that?
Well, it would begin in a district court, in a trial court. You know, the trial court would make a record. You know, the parties would litigate and fully develop that record in the trial court. Then it would go up to a court of appeals that would review that record looking for error. And then, again, it would be the same process. Someone would have to seek certiorari at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court would have to grant it. And then at that point, it would be the full judicial process. It would be briefs, oral argument, conversations with law clerks in chambers, consultation with colleagues, writing an opinion, really digging down into it. Judges can't just wake up one day and say, I have an agenda, I like guns, I hate guns, I like abortion, I hate abortion, and walk in like a royal queen and impose, you know, their will on the world. You have to wait for cases and controversies, which is the language of the Constitution, to wind their way through the process.
It's of great importance, I think, because it goes to a woman's fundamental right to make the most personal decisions about their own body. And as a college student in the 1950s, I saw what happened to young women who became pregnant at a time when abortion was not legal in this country. I went to Stanford. I saw the trips to Mexico. I saw young women try to hurt themselves, and it was really deeply, deeply concerning. Do you agree with Justice Scalia's view that Roe was wrongly decided?
So, Senator, I do want to be forthright and answer every question so far as I can. It would actually be wrong and a violation of the canons for me to do that as a sitting judge. So if I express a view on a precedent one way or another, whether I say I love it or I hate it, it signals to litigants that I might tilt one way or another in a pending case.
It's distressing not to get a straight answer. So let me try again. Do you agree with Justice Scalia's view that Roe was wrongly decided?
Senator, I completely understand why you are asking the question, but again, I can't pre-commit or say, yes, I'm going in with some agenda, because I'm not. I don't have any agenda. I have no agenda to try to overrule Casey. I have an agenda to stick to the rule of law and decide cases as they come.
You're on record for criticizing Chief Justice Roberts' opinion that the individual mandate is constitutional. Haven't you?
I am on record saying that I thought that the majority opinion was a less plausible interpretation of the statute than that of the dissent. Again, that was an academic writing, number one. Number two, it was on different issues than those are presented in California versus Texas. And number three, I think you're suggesting that I have some hostility to the ACA, which I assure you that I don't. And I think, Senator Durbin, there's actually something you and I agree on here. Judicial activism is bad from either side. And no matter what somebody's policy preferences are about the ACA, I completely agree with you. They shouldn't be trying to undermine the policy that Congress enacted. So you and I agree on that, and I embrace that view of a judge's role wholeheartedly. I'm standing before the committee today saying that I have the integrity to act consistently with my oath and apply the law as the law, to approach the ACA and every other statute without bias, and I have not made any commitments or deals or anything like that. I'm not here on a mission to destroy the Affordable Care Act. I'm just here to apply the law and adhere to the rule of law. Well, Senator, I've tried to be on a media blackout for the sake of my mental health, but you know, you can't keep yourself walled off from everything, and I'm aware of a lot of the caricatures that are floating around. So I think what I would like to say in response to that question is that look, I've made distinct choices. I've decided to pursue a career and have a large family. I have a multiracial family. Our faith is important to us. All of those things are true, but they are my choices. And in my personal interactions with people, I mean, I have a life brimming with people who've made different choices, and I've never tried in my personal life to impose my choices on them. And the same is true professionally. I mean, I apply the law. And Senator, I think I should say why I'm sitting in this seat in response to that question, too. Why I've agreed to be here, because I don't think it's any secret to any of you or to the American people that this is a really difficult, some might say excruciating process. And Jesse and I had a very brief amount of time to make a decision with momentous consequences for our family. We knew that our lives would be combed over for any negative detail. We knew that our faith would be caricatured. We knew our family would be attacked. And so we had to decide whether those difficulties would be worth it, because what sane person would go through that if there wasn't a benefit on the other side? And the benefit, I think, is that I'm committed to the rule of law and the role of the Supreme Court in dispensing equal justice for all. And I'm not the only person who could do this job, but I was asked, and it would be difficult for anyone. So why should I say someone else should do the difficulty if the difficulty is the only reason to say no? I should serve my country. And my family's all in on that because they share my belief in the rule of law.
Judge, it's wonderful to see you here. Also with the family that I have been observing. They sit still, quiet. You've done a very good job.
I have eyes in the back of my head, so they know I'm watching.
I was wondering if you might introduce us to them.
Sure. So I have my husband, Jesse, my son, JP, my daughter, Emma, my daughter, Juliet, my daughter, Tess, my daughter, Vivian, and my son, Liam. And then behind them are my 6 siblings who are with me today. I'll start at the side right behind Vivian. It's my sister, Vivian, my sister, Eileen, my brother, Michael, my sister, Megan, and my sister, Amanda. And is Carrie in the room? And my sister, Carrie, is sitting right over there.
You don't have a magic formula for how you do it and handle all the children and your job and your work and your thought process, which is obviously excellent, do you?
It's improv.
Yes, yes.
Have you seen the George Floyd video?
I have.
What impact did it have on you?
Senator, as you might imagine, given that I have 2 black children, that was very, very personal for my family. Jesse was with the boys on a camping trip out in South Dakota, so I was there, and my 17-year-old daughter, Vivian, who's adopted from Haiti, all of this was erupting. It was very difficult for her. We wept together in my room, and then it was also difficult for my daughter, Juliet, who's 10. I had to try to explain some of this to them. I mean, my children, to this point in their lives, have had the benefit of growing up in a cocoon where they have not yet experienced hatred or violence. And for Vivian, you know, to understand that there would be a risk to her brother or the son she might have one day of that kind of brutality has been an ongoing conversation. It's a difficult one for us, like it is for Americans all over the country.
I got one last question.
Hope it's an easy one.
It is. It's a sincere question. I'm generally curious. Who does the laundry in your house?
We increasingly have been trying to get our children to take responsibility for their own, but those efforts are not always successful. So we run a lot of loads of laundry.
Well, you're very impressive, Judge.
Thank you, Senator.